Revealed, heartwarming encounter of a billionaire CEO discovering his janitor's touching secret. Jack Thompson, the slick billionaire of Thompson Enterprises, had it all: a sprawling penthouse, luxury cars, and a corporate empire built on sharp elbows and sharper deals. Yet, he gazed out from his corner office, feeling an emptiness that even the city's glittering skyline couldn't fill. His phone buzzed with notifications from his estranged wife and children, reminders of the warmth he traded for cold transactions. In this bustling world of finance, he could bulldoze competition but couldn't seem to bridge the chasm with his family. Meanwhile, Emma, the night janitor of Thompson Enterprises, wrapped herself in the daily grind. Beneath the surface of her humble existence lay a tapestry of struggles, raising her teenage son alone after her husband, a veteran, succumbed to the demons of PTSD. She moved quietly through the sleek boardrooms, mopping floors and vacuuming plush carpets, dreaming of painting vibrant canvases when the world was asleep. Her life was a stark contrast to Jack's, yet she possessed a resilience that shone against the grit of hardship. As a severe storm rolled into the city, the winds howled like restless ghosts. Jack stood in a polished boardroom, contemplating whether to cut staff in light of the impending chaos. It's just business, he thought, but an unfamiliar tightness gripped his chest. Outside, sirens pierced the air, echoing the dread creeping into the hearts of families like Emma's. He had everything to lose, yet he never realized how hollow his empire truly was. Emma rallied her neighbors, distributing supplies and checking on those in need, becoming an unexpected beacon of strength amid the chaos. She tentatively hung her latest painting, a stormy sea reflecting her emotional turmoil, in the basement of the building, a place no one ever bothered to notice. It whispered stories of struggles and loss, transforming a forgotten room into a gallery of hidden pain and silent hope. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the storm ravaged the city, Jack returned to the basement, seeking refuge from the chaos that rattled his carefully orchestrated life. There, amidst the shadows, he stumbled upon Emma's artwork. The raw emotion anchored him. Each brushstroke bore witness to resilience and grief, a stark contrast to the cold, calculated environment he thrived in. It struck him, in that moment, that he had never truly seen the humanity behind the faces of the people beneath him. In a moment of impulsive clarity, Jack brought her art into the limelight, displaying it at a charity event meant to revive his company's tarnished reputation. As the crowd gathered, however, it wasn't just admiration they felt. Murmurs of outrage rippled through, exposing the harsh realities of economic inequality they all prefer to ignore. A heated confrontation ensued. His anger clashed with Emma's unyielding defiance as she unveiled her true identity: not merely a janitor, but an artist with a voice that demanded respect. Jack's long-held biases melted as he faced the person he had overlooked for far too long. "You don't get it," she shot back, her eyes ablaze. "You've measured worth in dollar signs for too long." As silence enveloped them, Jack grappled with a revelation. He thought about the families like Emma's, faces filled with hope and grit that lingered in his mind. Could he create a meaningful change? He felt a stirring inside, a yearning for redemption that had long been extinguished. Emma's art had awakened something in him, a flicker of hope against the storm's dark horizon. With life hanging precariously in the air, Jack's impending choices felt monumental. Would he rise to the occasion, creating a new legacy while slowly mending his family ties? Or would he drown in the chaos threatening to consume them all? Emma stood on the cusp of an opportunity that could elevate her, while Jack faced a defining moment in his life. The uncertain future left both their fates delicately poised, brimming with potential yet aching with unresolved questions. The crowd shifted uneasily, caught in the tension of unspoken truths. Emma's heart raced in the silence, each pulse echoing the words she yearned to convey. Jack stood before her, the mask of a successful CEO slipping just slightly, revealing the man buried underneath. "What do you want from me?" he finally asked, breaking the quiet. His voice wasn't harsh, but neither was it soft. It was a challenge wrapped in confusion. "I want you to see." Emma's words were steady, defiant. "See the people you label and quantify. See the lives you're about to affect with your decisions. My art proves that there's more to our lives than just survival. We create beauty, even amidst struggle. Don't you want to be part of that?" Jack shook his head, still grappling with her challenge, still entrenched in a world where numbers governed his decisions. But something was shifting inside him. "Why should I care? You think your paintings will change anything?" "That's where you're wrong," she replied, her voice rising a notch. "Art can convey feelings that numbers can't. It can spark change, if you let it." Around them, whispers began to swell. Some in the crowd shifted their weight, grappling with their own discomfort as they lingered between admiration for Emma and guilt in recognizing their own complicity. Jack's eyes darted to the artworks displayed around them. The stormy sea depicted in Emma's painting gave way to waves of raw emotion. He could feel the pain, the struggle, the small but unmistakable glimmer of hope within the chaos. Here was a world he'd ignored, a world he could shape if only he would let himself. "What if I made changes?" he uttered finally, almost as if he were testing the waters of his newfound awakening. Emma's brow furrowed, the challenge still palpable between them. "What are you willing to give up to make it happen?" Jack considered her words. His empire had been built on the notion of gaining a relentless pursuit of profit and prestige. Could he unravel that? The storm outside intensified, thunder rumbling as if resonating with the turmoil brewing inside him. The audience held their breath, sensing the gravity of the moment. They awaited an answer not just from Jack, but for themselves as well. "I could restructure the company," he hesitated, imagining a future that was still shrouded in uncertainty. "Maybe create initiatives that give back?" Emma's expression softened even as she fought to maintain her resolve. "Innovation doesn't always mean profit, Jack. Sometimes it's about sacrifice, too." The sincerity in her voice cut through the tension. Jack was captivated. As he stared into her eyes, he saw determination and hope. Two things he thought he'd lost. "Then what happens to us? Your art and us?" Jack's voice lowered, exposing the vulnerability he rarely showed. Emma looked thoughtfully at the painting behind him. "Us? We both have to take risks. But the future holds both hope and fear. You have to decide which to embrace. We can't let fear stop us from doing what's right." In that moment, something broke inside Jack. He felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him but didn't want to retreat. He wanted to step forward. "All right," he finally said, heart racing. "I'll commit to making real change." A collective sigh broke from the assembled crowd. What began as a confrontation morphed into an awakening, an unexpected allyship born from an artist's passion and a CEO's unease. As Emma tried to comprehend his vow, a new conundrum washed over her. Could she truly trust him to follow through? Would he have the courage to stand up against his deepest fears and the expectations of his former world? "Let us see where this takes us," she said, hopeful yet wary. The storm raged on, both outside and within, as they stood at the precipice of a collaboration that would change not only their lives but the lives of countless others. What kind of legacy would Jack forge from this moment? As they faced the brewing storm together, doubts intermingled with hope. Can trust flourish amidst the chaos? Emma felt the weight of the crowd's gaze, their breath held anticipation palpable. Jack stood before her like a rock, a vast ocean of uncertainty. She could sense the conflict within him, his logical mind still grappling with the emotional pages of his heart that Emma had begun to lay bare. "Do you really believe I can make a difference?" he asked quietly, breaking the spell surrounding them. The question hung in the air, as heavy as the storms that raged outside. "I believe anyone can," Emma said, her voice ringing with conviction. "Even someone like you. Especially you." She took a step closer, her hand brushing the edge of the canvas. "These people, they want change. They need someone who can not only hear them but see them. This is a chance, Jack, a chance for you to shift your narrative. His brow furrowed, eyes scanning the crowd, each face reflecting hope mixed with fear and uncertainty. Could he be that person? The leader who would redefine success not through profit margins but through genuine human connection? What if I fail? His voice caught in his throat, the vulnerability raw and undeniable. That's the risk we all take, isn't it? Emma replied gently. What's the alternative? To stay where you are, slipping further into profits without purpose? The storm intensified, the howling wind shrieking like the doubts swirling in Jack's mind. He closed his eyes for a fleeting moment, envisioning a world where profit wasn't the sole priority. A world where his company could make a real impact on people's lives. But could he really walk that path? The tension in the room shifted slightly as an older gentleman from the crowd stepped forward, his hands trembling. I'm just a janitor, he said, voice shaky but resolute. I clean your office, Jack. I've seen how you make decisions. I've watched people get pushed aside for the bottom line. He hesitated, closing his eyes briefly as if collecting the courage to continue. Change starts small. It begins with understanding where you came from. Jack turned towards him, startled. The man's beige uniform was slightly stained, but his eyes sparkled with determination. And where I came from was a place of struggle, the janitor continued. Art, like Emma's, has always brought me comfort in tough times. It reminds us of the beauty in our shared human experience. Emma felt a surge of warmth. This moment, this connection, it was the heart of everything she'd been fighting for. He's right, Jack, she said, her voice steady. It's the stories we share, the beauty we create together that ignite the spark of change. Jack swallowed hard, realizing this was more than just a challenge, it was a calling. What if the man before him was correct? What if the way forward started not from a board meeting but by leaning in fully to the lives touched by his decisions? I can start with the small things, he stammered, his tone lightening. Maybe we can begin initiatives that involve the community. Show solidarity, not superiority. The crowd seemed to latch onto his every word, hope igniting the air like fireworks. Emma couldn't help but smile. Perhaps he was finally beginning to see. But just as she thought they were about to forge their path together, the storm outside unleashed a crack of thunder that reverberated through the building, shaking the ground beneath them. What's next? Said Jack, glancing around at the faces filled with hope. Can we take this step together? Will you stand with me? Emma searched his eyes, both exhilarated and terrified by the promise of what was to come. Trust was a fragile thing, especially when the stakes were so high. Together, she affirmed, if you mean it. The crowd mirrored this sentiment, their collective murmurs turning into whispers of voices joining in. Jack took a breath that seemed to pulsate with new life, as if he were breathing in the spirit of change. But would they weather the storm brewing inside him as much as the one raging outside? As Jack faced the crowd, Emma wondered if their journey would bind them together or tear them apart. In that moment, a new doubt crossed her mind. What secrets lay buried in Jack's past that might threaten this fragile trust? The winds howled, mirroring their fears. Could they trust one another fully when the truth remained elusive? The moment hung in the air, charged with possibility and fear. Jack felt the eyes of the crowd on him, but his heart raced only for Emma. She was right, they needed to move forward, to embrace this opportunity to connect on a deeper level. But as he wrestled with his growing desire to step into that role, another voice cut through the storm outside, the voice of doubt. What if he stumbled? What if the community expected more than he could give? What if they learned the truth about the past he had buried so deep? Jack. A soft voice broke his concentration. Emma stood just a step away, her eyes searching his, her worry palpable. You okay? He nodded, swallowing back the lump in his throat. Yeah, I need to tell them the truth. It's time. The murmurs in the crowd faded as he stepped forward. Jack could hardly hear the wild wind anymore. The crowd was silent, as if waiting for a spell to be broken. I've made mistakes, he began, his voice trembling at first. I've put profit over people far too many times. I thought that was what success meant. He glanced over at the janitor, whose eyes were wide with curiosity, perhaps even concern. Jack took a deep breath, feeling the storm inside him grow quieter. I really want to change that. I want to help, but I can't pretend like there won't be bumps along the way. As he spoke, the fear lessened, replaced by a current of shared emotion pulsing through the room. There was power in vulnerability. I'm committed to starting small, but I need each of you. We can work together to create initiatives that matter, that touch lives. But I need your trust and your voices. Jack paused, noticing a tear rolling down the janitor's cheek, an emblem of hope and understanding that struck him deeply. Let us lift each other up, starting today. The response from the crowd was immediate, like a wave crashing against the shore. Their voices echoed back to him. They needed to feel heard, and today, Jack had given them a reason to believe in their own power. But just as a soft smile crept across Emma's face, a loud crash echoed again from outside, a reminder that the storm still raged, both inside and out. The wind screamed against the windows, shaking the very foundations of the room. That fear returned, heavy like a lead weight in Jack's chest. Jack! Emma called, her voice slicing through his rising anxiety. You're doing great. Just keep going. He clenched his fists, steadying himself. I want to know your stories, your struggles, what you dream of for our community. We're not just a company, we can be a family. A family that stands together through storms. As Jack spoke, the rain began to pour, hammering against the roof. There was a force to it, a reminder of the challenges they would face. He knew it wouldn't be easy. The path ahead was paved with uncertainty, but something deep inside told him it was worth the risk. Then he heard a voice emerge from the back. And what about you, Jack? Will your past come back to haunt us? His heart sank. It was as if the crowd had synchronized to unleash their hidden doubts. He could feel the weight of their questions pressing against him like the storm outside. What do you mean? He asked, trying to mask the tremor in his voice. The janitor was stepping forward, eyes locked on Jack. You said you made mistakes. What are they? Will they be obstacles to the future you're promising? The words hung between them, heavy with implication. The moment had come for the truth to rise, to confront what lay buried beneath layers of old decisions and regret. Jack's throat felt dry, as if the wind had swept away his courage. Could he share the darkest parts of himself? Could he trust that they wouldn't turn away? As he searched for the right words, a sense of urgency rooted in his heart, to come clean, to articulate the truth he'd run from for too long. He took a breath, bracing himself. It was time to lift the veil. My past is complicated, the thunder roared, drowning out his voice, but the heart of the crowd was electrified with anticipation. Would they accept him if they knew? Would Emma still stand by him when the full weight of his truth was laid bare? Jack's heart pounded as he suspended the words on the tip of his tongue. He looked around the room, at the worried faces and the glimmer of hope in their eyes. What if he abandoned this moment of honesty? Would he repeat the mistakes that had led him here? The crowd was waiting, and the last thing he wanted was to let fear snatch that chance away. I made choices that hurt people, he finally blurted out, his voice breaking slightly. I was arrogant. I thought my success would shield me, but instead, it isolated me from reality. Jack felt the flood of memories come rushing back, the decisions driven by greed that had cost him more than money. I've shut myself off from what really matters. People. He caught Emma's gaze, her unwavering support anchoring him. It was almost enough to quell the storm within. He pressed on. When I started my business, I didn't see how my actions affected others. All I saw was the bottom line. When I realized this, I was already too deep, feeling trapped. The room was quiet. Jack could sense the emotional weight of his truth sinking in, and despite the anxiety creeping at the edges of his mind, a part of him felt liberated. He paused, gauging the reactions of those in front of him. Would they turn away? Would they see the facade he had so carefully constructed? What's your worst mistake? A voice called out, soft yet demanding. The janitor, still standing by the back, had a way of drawing Jack's gaze. There was a depth to that question, one that resonated deeply. I lost the trust of my closest employees and friends. I prioritized profit over them. I had friends who depended on me, and I let them down, prioritizing short-term gains over long-term relationships. Jack's chest felt tight as he confessed. He could see the janitor's brow furrow, nodding slowly, the look of understanding etched on his face. You were honest, the janitor replied, taking a step closer. That's what we need. Honesty. It's what we're all looking for. The room felt charged with something raw and powerful. Jack could see people leaning in, urging him silently to continue. I want to fix this. I want this community to thrive, but... His voice faltered, I'm scared my past will come back to haunt me. What if they reject me when they know the real me? You said we could be a family, Emma interjected, taking a step forward. Family doesn't turn away when it gets tough. We accept the messy parts of each other. Her words washed over Jack like a soothing balm, infusing warmth into the chilly air. The heaviness in his heart lightened just a bit. Still, doubts lingered. Would they still accept him? Would they see him as the flawed human he was? Just then, the storm outside thundered with renewed fury, shaking the very walls. Jack took a moment and closed his eyes, battling the fear that screamed at him to retreat. When he opened them again, he met the eyes of the crowd, a mix of concern, curiosity, and unexpected empathy. He made a choice then, one that would forge the path ahead. I promise to work with each of you, to listen, to learn. Together, we can build something better. But I need you to believe in me, despite my past. The crowd remained silent, tension hanging thick in the air. And then, the janitor shouted, if we can lift you up, Jack, then you can help us rise too. Jack's heart surged. Suddenly, they weren't just looking to him for salvation, they were ready to help him heal. Hope ignited a spark, and he could feel it crackling through the crowd. As the rain pounded on the windows and the storm continued to rage, a fierce determination settled into his bones. We'll build a new future together, he declared, gripping the edge of the podium. One step at a time. But just as the words left his mouth, an ominous crack echoed through the building, drawing startled gasps. Jack turned to see pieces of the ceiling start to crumble. The storm was threatening to penetrate their safe haven. What now? Would their budding efforts be overshadowed by nature's wrath? Could they truly stand united in the face of both internal and external storms? The questions loomed heavy in the air, but there was only one way to find out. As the sound of cracking plaster filled the air, Jack's thoughts raced. The ceiling above them was trembling, fragments breaking loose like his own fragile resolve. All around him, eyes were wide with fear. But Jack felt something shift within him, a sense of duty that surged stronger than the storm. He held up his hands to calm the crowd. Stay calm. We can't panic. Help me clear the area. He knew that instinctively freezing would lead them nowhere. His heart thudded louder than the thunder, the urgency of the moment pulling him into action. Let us move back towards the entrance. Emma yelled, the determination in her voice cutting through the chaos. With her lead, people began to shuffle away from the crumbling ceiling, parting the crowd like waves as they focused on safety. Jack stepped down from the podium, a surge of adrenaline urging him forward. He reached for the janitor, who was already ushering others out with a calm demeanor that stood in stark contrast to the turmoil. You're right, so much depends on each other, Jack said breathlessly as he helped guide a mother and her young son towards the exit. Keep moving. We're going to be okay. The janitor responded, leading with a steady voice that oddly reassured Jack amidst the panic swirling about. He was reminded of the janitor's earlier strength. The man had asked the tough questions, had seen through the bravado without judgment. There was a connection there, one born out of shared vulnerability. Outside, the wind howled fiercely, and rain whipped against their faces as if nature herself challenged their resolve. But in the distance, Jack could see shelter. Everyone. We've got to reach the community hall. He called out, rallying the group as they moved closer. His conviction fueled their steps, igniting urgency in the air despite the chaos. As they made their way towards safety, Jack caught a glimpse of Emma. Her eyes shone bright with hope, the embodiment of the courage that filled the room moments ago. "We'll rebuild this, Jack," she shouted over the wind. "We'll fix everything." Just when Jack believed he could shield them from despair, a deep rumble echoed, and the building seemed to shudder. He spun around, watching in helpless horror as more debris fell. The janitor shoved him aside just in time, a hero in that moment. "You lead them out, Jack. I'll help the stragglers." The unexpected bravery struck Jack like a bolt of lightning. "No!" he shouted, but the janitor was already moving back, eyes scanning for anyone caught him in the chaos. With the danger somehow receding momentarily, Jack found himself staring back at the janitor, the unspoken bond between them louder than any storm. It was more than just the fear, it was understanding. They were two men, different paths, and yet they both fought for a future worth believing in. In the eye of the storm, Jack felt a wave of clarity wash over him. For every mistake, there is a chance to make it right, he thought, gathering the remaining community members close. But how do we heal together when the world keeps throwing storms our way? Every fear melted into that singular question. Could they really come together? Did they have enough strength to face the fallout, to take back what they had lost? The answer beckoned in Jack's chest, pounding like the thunder above. "I won't let anyone fall. Not now, not ever." Just as he pushed forward, the building shook violently, and an ominous creak shattered the tension. Where would the next step lead? Would they truly find a way to unite against the tempest of their pasts and the storm of their present? Jack could only hope as he pressed onward, the weight of trust resting heavily on all their shoulders. Jack hurried through the downpour, the frigid rain pooling at his feet, each step reminding him of the fragility around him. The community hall loomed closer, the lights flickering like a beacon of hope amid the storm's fury. "We can make it," he shouted, his voice amplified by desperation and determination. "Keep moving, everyone." The crowd surged forward, but Jack knew they wouldn't truly be safe until every last person was inside. He felt the weight of their trust pressing against him. Around him, faces glistened with rain and terror, yet he could also see glimpses of resolve. Emma was right, this was a moment that could define them. He focused on the entrance and pushed against the storm, urging them forward. Suddenly, a shrill scream cut through the chaos. Jack's heart dropped as he noticed a woman stumbling in the mud, her arm twisted awkwardly as she reached for her fallen umbrella. "Help her!" he shouted, instinctively pushing his way toward her. "Jack, no!" Emma yelled, grabbing his arm. "We don't have time." His eyes met hers, and in that fleeting exchange, he knew she was right. Yet, he felt a pull, a responsibility that surged within him. "I can't leave her." He wrestled free from Emma's grasp, bolting back into the storm's teeth. With the rain hammering down, Jack reached the woman just as another blast of wind nearly knocked her to the ground. "I've got you," he shouted, wrapping an arm around her waist and pulling her up. "Let us get you to safety." She groaned, and for a moment, it felt as if time slowed. Glancing back, he caught sight of the janitor, still valiantly ushering stragglers from the debris. A rush of admiration flooded him. This man wasn't just cleaning up messes, he was helping define who they were becoming. They were all something more in this moment, they just had to believe it. Together, they moved toward the hall, the woman leaning heavily against him, her breath shallow but determined. "I thought I lost you," she said, tears mixing with the rain. "You didn't," he promised, forcing a smile as they neared the entrance. "We're all here. We're going to be okay." As they reached the threshold, he helped her inside. The warmth enveloped them, and the crowd quickly formed a protective circle around the newcomers. Jack could feel the weight lift just slightly, the shared relief washing over them like a balm. Just then, his gaze locked onto the janitor. He was still outside, frantically searching for anyone left behind. Jack's heart twisted. I can't leave him out there. He turned to Emma, urgency filling his voice. He can't be alone. Jack, we need to regroup. Emma called, but Jack was already moving. He burst back into the storm, wind and rain stinging his face. The sight of the janitor, searching tirelessly, sparked resolve within him. Each step felt like a battle, but he pressed on. You don't have to fight this alone. He shouted over the rain. The janitor turned, his face a mix of relief and concern as their eyes met. What are you doing back here? He asked, his voice hoarse but steady. Let us finish this together, Jack replied, determination resonating in his chest. The janitor nodded, recognition sparking in his eyes. Together, they fought against the wind, pushing through as they called out for others. Everyone. If you can hear me, we're here. The janitor bellowed. Jack felt his heart swell. This wasn't just about safety, it was about connection, community, and a shared future that could emerge strong from this storm. But just as they gathered the last of the stragglers, a deep crack pierced the air, and the unmistakable sound of collapsing structure echoed ominously in the distance. Jack felt his heart pound in his chest as he turned back to the community hall. Would they still have a place to come together? The storm raged on, and with each passing moment, the weight of uncertainty grew heavier. What awaited them on the other side of the chaos? The ground quaked beneath Jack's feet as the cracks sounded more like thunder than wood splintering. Panic gripped him. People inside would be unaware of the danger looming over them. Jack's instincts kicked in. We need to move everyone away from the walls. He yelled, turning back to the janitor, who was scanning the stormy skies and wreckage with wide eyes. The janitor nodded, the urgency reflected in the scrunch of his face. Let us get them over here. He pointed to a narrower section of the hall, a safer spot away from where the walls were beginning to shift. The two of them raced toward the entrance of the hall again, casting shouts to the crowd. Listen up. Move away from the windows and walls. Jack's heart raced as he watched people begin to gather, faces still filled with fear but now tinged with determination. He swept his gaze over them, clinging to the hope he had instilled just moments ago. We have to get everyone to safety. I need you all to follow my voice. His own words pushed him onwards, a mantra against the storm. The janitor, urging people along, caught Jack's eye. We're losing light. We can't waste time. Jack felt a chill grip his heart at the thought of people trapped inside if the hall truly gave way. He turned and started waving his arms, guiding more stragglers towards the rear. You're doing great. Just keep moving. He couldn't help but glance back towards the impending threat. The walls of the community hall felt increasingly precarious. He had seen buildings crumble before, but witnessing it while trying to help instilled a different kind of fear in him, one that threatened to claw at his resolve. Suddenly, there was a loud crash. An overhead beam fell with a resounding thud as splinters shot outwards, the rain and wind swirling around it. Jack's gut tightened. Get back. Everyone, move. People surged in every direction, fear taking hold. He grabbed the janitor's arm, dragging him out of a swarm of fleeing bodies, just as they made their way to a safer spot at the back. We can't let this place claim anyone else. Jack shouted, his voice nearly drowned out by the deluge. Amid the chaos, Jack saw Emma standing by the entrance, her eyes darting around, searching frantically. Jack. Over here. Jack locked eyes with her, feeling a rush of warmth despite the storm. He pushed through the crowd to reach her. We need to get people to safety before it's too late, he said, panting, rain running down his face, mingling with the sweat. Know that you're going to have to help those who are struggling the most, she replied, expression fierce. If you see someone, you have to. Jack nodded, steeling himself. The janitor stepped forward. I can help, too. He looked ready to dive into the surge of people helping the displaced. Suddenly, another crack echoed, this time closer. Jack's heart raced. He could feel the panic in the air, the tangible fear that was clawing at everyone. How much longer could they hold on? He breathed deeply, determination washing over him. Together, we can do this. Let's start moving. With renewed resolve, they began collecting others. Jack felt the pulse of their fear drive his heart. Even as he led them towards safety, a nagging thought clung to him: was there enough time? Suddenly, a glimpse of movement drew his eye. A child, lost amidst the turmoil, was standing, frozen, just a few feet away. Jack's heart dropped into his stomach. No! He shouted, legs moving before his brain could catch up. Jack, wait! Emma called, her voice trailing behind him as he sprinted towards the little girl, hoping it wasn't too late. Would he be able to reach her in time? Was this storm determined to take everything from him? As he reached out, he could feel the weight of the world pushing down on them all. Jack lunged forward, his heart racing as he reached the little girl. Time seemed to stretch, with each frantic step echoing the threat of the collapsing structure. The air crackled with tension, and the shrieks of the wind mingled with the distant groans of the hall's aging frame. Hey! It's okay. I'm here. He shouted, lowering himself to her eye level. She flinched, still paralyzed by fear, her tiny body rigid and unmoving. Jack's mind raced. You have to listen to me. We need to go, sweetheart. Please. He whistled through the chaos behind him and caught a fleeting glimpse of Emma, now rushing to catch up, her brows clenched with worry. The little girl blinked, raw confusion and terror flickering across her face. But the noise, it's scary. She whimpered, tears pooling in her wide eyes. I know, Jack replied, his voice turning softer but urgent, but staying here is even scarier. Come on, I'll protect you. I promise. He extended his hand, hoping she'd trust him. Finally, her small fingers wrapped around his, and that simple contact flooded him with relief. He turned, adrenaline surging as he realized he had to get through the throng of panicked bodies. Keep close to me, he instructed, guiding her with every ounce of focus he could muster. Jack! Emma's voice called again, much nearer now. She was weaving through people, her eyes locked on his, the fear for their safety evident. They made their way towards safety, but another echoing crack filled the air, the thunderous voice of the storm made manifest. A large section of the hall's ceiling gave way, sending debris crashing down just feet behind them. A sharp jolt shot through Jack as he yanked the little girl to his side, a protective shield against the chaos. They stumbled into the hallway, the flickering light barely illuminating their path. Are we safe now? The girl whispered, clutching onto Jack. Not yet, but we will be, he assured her, looking back over his shoulder to find Emma, who was now close enough for him to see the determination etched across her features. Everyone's coming. Just a little further. They pushed past another wave of terrified souls, Jack's heart doubling its efforts, pounding not just for himself but for each life he felt responsible for. Moving towards safety meant moving through the chaos. Suddenly, something on the ground caught Jack's attention. A woman, collapsed at the entrance, trying to shield her own 2 children. Instinctively, his legs propelled him forward, urging the little girl to hold on to his wrist. Stay here, he ordered. Jack! Emma's voice trembled as she tried to catch up. Jack knelt beside the woman, scanning her quickly. Can you stand? We need to get you and the kids out. The woman shook her head, terror flickering in her eyes. I can't, it hurts. Emma! Jack shouted, his heart sinking at the sight of doubt sifting through the woman's face. I need your help. He glanced back at the little girl, feeling the weight of his responsibilities pressing down. Emma moved into view, taking stock of the situation with a quick, decisive look. Let us get them on their feet, Jack, she said firmly. The storm outside roared louder, the walls shivering in response. I'll handle the kids. You support her. Jack nodded, the storm raging both outside and within. He took the woman's arm, wrapping it around his shoulder. You're going to be okay. Just focus on me, he reassured her as they struggled to their feet. As they started to move toward the back of the hall, everything morphed into a swirl of movement and noise. His mind spun like the winds outside. Here, amidst the screams and chaos, he realized something incredible. In the heart of this storm, amidst the threat of everything crumbling around him, Jack found an unexpected flame of connection, hope igniting a path forward. What would it take to get them all to safety? And would Jack figure out how to protect not just them, but what remained of his own heart? The storm roared louder, but Jack pushed ahead, not ready to give up just yet. As the chaos swirled around him, Jack felt something crack inside, a resolve born from vulnerability and hope rising within. He focused on the fallen woman beside him and the little girl clinging to his other hand. "We're going to make it out," he murmured, not just to her but to himself. "One step at a time." Emma encouraged the children, knitting their small fingers into hers, providing a sense of security amidst the heart-stopping panic. "Just follow my voice, keep walking." Her voice projected strength, a guiding light in the gathering storm. Together, they navigated through the thrumming chaos. Jack felt the presence of the community surrounding him, fighting to escape the wrath of the storm. Each face reflected his ambition to overcome the obstacles separating them. He saw fear, yes, but he also saw courage. They made it out of the main hall and into the courtyard just as another crash echoed, debris tumbling behind them like a menacing shadow. "Keep going," Jack shouted, determination fueling each step. The rain rattled against their skin, a fierce reminder of everything they were fighting against, but it made them feel alive. "Jack, we're losing people," Emma called, breathless, as they reached the edge of the courtyard. His heart raced as he realized how many voices were still left in the storm. The janitor caught his eye, beckoning from the far end, helping to rally stragglers toward the safety of a sturdy building. "I'll go," Jack shouted, feeling as though every pulse of his heart prompted another step forward. Before he could think twice, he sprinted towards the line of people struggling on the other side, his past moments of hesitation eclipsed by the clarity of purpose. "Please, we can't let anyone fall," Jack urged as he ran, his voice cutting through the rain. And, as if the universe agreed, a crack in the clouds allowed a slice of light to seep in, illuminating their path. He rounded the corner into a small, weathered building that had sheltered generations before them. The warmth inside felt like a defiance against the storm. They were not just preserving lives, they were preserving dreams. "Get inside," he urged those gathered outside, and they moved closer, forming a tight bond as they stepped into the safety of walls lined with shared history. Inside, the room pulsed with a newfound energy, faces illuminated by panic and hope. Inside these four walls, Jack felt a connection bloom, larger than himself and the walls of his past. This was more than survival, it was community. It was family. Emma joined him inside, her expression fierce, merging determination with compassion as she began gathering people together. "Spread out. Check on your neighbors. We need everyone accounted for." She turned to Jack, her eyes shining. "You did good out there." "Thanks to you," he replied breathlessly. "You helped pull me in when I wanted to pull away." Emma nodded, acknowledgement passing between them, solidifying their partnership as they shared the weight of battle. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours as they checked on their neighbors, cultivating an environment brimming with warmth and reassurance. In a corner, the janitor spoke softly to a scared mother and child, bridging fears with kindness, even while rain rattled angrily at the windows. The contrast between the tempest outside and the haven they created within was stark. Jack breathed deeply. This was possible. Hours later, when the storm finally began to settle outside, Jack gathered the people of the community, their hearts thawing to share stories, laughter, and renewed spirits. They were bound not by suffering but by resilience. Each story became a brushstroke in the canvas of their shared humanity. As he looked around, he felt hope flicker anew in each heart, their strength together woven like the fabric that held the universe in place. "Everyone," Jack's voice boomed, filled with emotion. "We're alive. Not just as individuals but as a family forged in this storm. Together, we will build a legacy that honors every struggle and triumph we share." Applause erupted, but it wasn't tea. Just for him, it was for the spirit of solidarity the community had unearthed. Jack felt Emma's hand, warm against his palm. "You'll be okay," she whispered, her eyes searching his, full of light. Jack smiled back, feeling like he could breathe again. The storm had tested them, exposed their fears, but ultimately, it had also ignited their courage. Together, Jack and Emma had faced the tempest, not just battling the storm outside but also their own turbulent pasts. They managed it step by step, helping one another rise from despair, teaching others to find their footing. Jack knew now that his legacy would not be about profits or egos but about fostering a community that stood tall, together, through every storm to come. Tears filled Emma's eyes as she realized the transformation that had unfolded around them. "We did it," she whispered, wonder and gratitude rolling through her voice. "Yes," Jack echoed, his heart swelling with the promise of tomorrow. "We're just beginning." As the clouds parted, revealing a brightening sky, the light breaking seemed to carry their promise into the future, a future that was, finally, full of hope. Together, they would write the next chapter of their lives, an inspiring story of resilience and kindness. A testament that amidst the fiercest storms, love could shine bright. And that was just the beginning. You need to subscribe now to never miss exclusive stories like this. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to help me reach more hearts. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending, what moved you the most. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation.